my name is Claire and I am from the social media team here at JCPenney. I am back to bring you another recipe I am super excited about. This is perfect time for Mother's Day. It is an amazing, super easy, only 2-dish recipe. I'm super excited about it and I think you should be too. Now I'm going to get my tablet ready so that I can answer any questions or respond to any comments that you have during this, so make sure to leave any of the thoughts that you have. I'm more than happy to answer questions. Let me get this guy nice and set up and we should be good to go. Now, last week I actually made an apple chip recipe for you guys. It was a lot healthier, it was super easy, just a few steps. So I thought today I would maybe have a little bit of balance and go for a banana bread. More specifically, a chocolate chip banana bread. I personally love adding those additional little crunches and flavors, and I think you're gonna like it too. And I would love to know what additions you like to add to your banana bread. I know that some people add nuts. I even heard someone say peanut butter recently, which I thought was such a great idea. But I'm just gonna be sticking with chocolate chips today. So to start, I'm going to be using my KitchenAid mixer. This guy is my best friend in the kitchen. I use him all the time. He is just a fantastic thing to have around. I kind of consider him one of my best friends. It is a him, don't worry about it. So I'm definitely going to be using this quite a bit today. I'm also going to be using a 3/4 cup of butter. This guy is softened. I'm also going to be using 1.5 cups of light brown sugar. I'm going to be using 2 eggs. These guys are brown eggs. It doesn't really make a difference. I'm going to be using 2 tablespoons of milk. I'm also going to be adding 3 cups of those ripe bananas. You know that has to be in banana bread. I'm going to be adding 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Make sure it's baking soda and not baking powder. I'm going to be adding 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon, just for a little extra spice. I'm going to be using 1 cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips. That's my personal favorite. And then also, I'm going to be using 2 cups of all-purpose flour. Super basic, but it gets the job done. So let me move these guys out of the way, and we're going to start by creaming together our butter and our sugar. This is considered the creaming method. It's very, very common. It's super easy. It's just a really, really great way to get everything incorporated. So I've got this guy unlocked. I'm going to pop him open. I am using the paddle attachment. It makes it a lot easier to incorporate all of this together. You can use the whisk, but I find that it a lot of times gets stuck together in all those little holes, so the paddle attachment is kind of my best friend here. And I'm going to start this just on a 2, and because this is softened ahead of time, it is going to mix really, really easily. It's going to be super creamy. It's going to be really easy to incorporate. And the way that I like to use my mixer is start at a 2 and then let that start going, incorporate it up to maybe a 4, and then kind of end it off with like a 6 or 8. So I'm going to crank that guy up just a little bit more, and we're good to go. So the very next thing I'm going to add is my brown sugar. The reason that I like to cream my butter ahead of time is just to get rid of all of those lumps and make sure that this is going to be a really smooth batter. So next I'm adding my light brown sugar. I am using light brown sugar here as opposed to dark brown sugar. If you don't know, the difference between the two is the amount of molasses that's added into the sugar. So you have white sugar, no molasses, obviously. Light brown sugar, which has a little bit more molasses added. It's going to give you a little bit of that really rich flavor. And then dark brown sugar, which is what you're going to want to use for like those gingerbread cakes or any sort of carrot cake. Really those heavier, denser, I think about them as like winter, sweets that you're enjoying. So for this, I'm just going to be using a light brown sugar, super easy. And I'm just going to give it a nice little whip. Like I said, bump it up a little bit towards the end to make sure we're all incorporated. And we should be good to go. Awesome. Next, I'm going to be adding my 2 eggs. These, like I said, are brown eggs. I'm going to scroll down to make sure I'm not missing any questions or comments. And we are going to add them I'm just gonna add them both at the same time. If you feel like adding them one at a time, go right ahead, but I think it's easier just to add them at the same time. And there's actually not a difference between white eggs or brown eggs. It just really depends on what comes out of the chicken. There's even like blue eggs, there's yellow eggs, there's a bunch of different options. I just personally like the way that the brown eggs look, but you can really use any type of egg at this point. And I'm gonna crank that guy up a little bit more and make sure that we're incorporating. You definitely don't want to crank your egg up too much too quickly, or else you're going to end up incorporating a lot of extra air and end up with something that isn't quite the texture you're going for with banana bread. So I'm just going to have that on about 4, and then now that it's incorporating, crank it up. Like I said, this guy is my best friend. I find it so much easier to incorporate everything in batter whenever you're using something like this. And as you're going, especially after that initial creaming process, you're going to want to use a spatula like this, just a little rubber spatula, and scrape down the edges. There's butter and there's stuff that's not quite ready to incorporate yet, and so if you give it a little scrape and make sure it gets all down in there, it's going to be significantly easier for you. Alrighty, I'm just going to scrape down the side there and get that guy going a little bit more. And just get that up to about a 4, a 6, and we're incorporated. All right, cool. Next one I'm gonna add is just that 2 tablespoons of milk. I'm using oat milk here. You can use regular milk, you can use skim milk, you can use coconut milk, you can use oat milk, nut milk, whatever milk you wanna use. Just make sure to add a little bit of cream here. And I'm just gonna give that a quick whisk. This should get in pretty quickly. Awesome. Okay, cool. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna start incorporating our dry ingredients. So what I like to do is put those together in a separate bowl. Can we just talk about how cute this little blue guy is? I'm a little bit obsessed with him. It actually comes in 3 sizes. I'm a fan. And to this, this is the 2 cups of flour. I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Again, make sure this is not baking powder. Actually, there's a difference. Baking soda, it needs some sort of acid that's going to be in the batter. So for us, that's gonna be the bananas. And then baking powder actually has the acid included in it. If you add baking powder here, you're gonna end up with a really big rise that's not gonna be quite the texture you're looking for. So baking soda is exactly what you need. And then just for a little spice, I'm adding some cinnamon. And I'm gonna grab a whisk and just whisk these guys together. This not only incorporates them, but also adds a little bit of air in and make sure there's not any clumps. It'll just be a lot easier to incorporate into the batter. All right. Now that we've got that guy incorporated, I'm gonna turn this on to a stir. Make sure you don't go any higher or you're gonna end up with flour everywhere. Not that I've done that. And I'm going to incorporate this in about thirds. So just a little bit, let it mix together. Once it's starting to incorporate, bump it up to a 2, maybe even a 4. There we go. This is such a great recipe. I actually have made it quite a bit over the past few weeks. I know that a lot of y'all have as well, so hopefully this will teach you something new as you're making this banana bread. I actually am looking forward to, luckily I'm gonna get the opportunity to see my mom on Mother's Day, and this is a really great brunch recipe that we probably will be enjoying. She definitely, I think, deserves it. She's a really amazing mom, and you know, I think that everyone deserves a little something special on Mother's Day. So I think this will be an amazing, amazing addition to our brunch menu. And I also really love this recipe because you can make it the night before and you can store it at room temperature. It doesn't take a lot of extra, energy. And if you do need to leave this on a front porch, even if you needed to ship it, it is the perfect way to leave something homemade that doesn't have to come directly out of the oven or something like that. You can just leave it on someone's porch as just a little happy surprise. So I think it's a great recipe. I think it's really fun, and I hope you guys do too. All right, so we are starting to look really good with this batter. I've got just a little bit more flour to incorporate. And I'm just gonna get that guy all the way in and give it one last stir. The thing that I really like about these bowls, see, told you, flour, it can get everywhere. Make sure to start low. But the thing I love about these bowls is that it has this little nozzle right on the end, so I can pour it right in. You definitely want to look for that whenever you're incorporating something right on the side like I just did. It just makes it a lot easier. And again, that way you don't have to get a spoon and scoop it and, you know, do a bunch of extra other things. Like I said, 2 bowls. So easy, so simple, and one less thing you have to cook with, or clean, which is very important to me. All right, so now we've got this guy incorporated. I'll lift it so you can see, like, look how good that batter looks. Does it not look fantastic? I'm super excited. And then I'm gonna be adding in 3 ripe bananas. Now, I don't know about you guys, but my husband has a love of bananas, but he a lot of times will end up with, you know, a few extras that he maybe doesn't get to throughout the week. So this has actually become a really easy, one of my favorite ways to incorporate those bananas and not have them go to waste. And I'm sure many of you are thinking, but Claire, you haven't mashed your bananas. How are they going to get incorporated into this bread correctly? What I have found is that if you use a stand mixer like this, and you add those, you know, really bright bananas that are already soft, and you turn it up and up and up like I tend to do, by the time that you have ended this, which hopefully you can still hear me, by the time you end this at about a 10, you're gonna have it really well incorporated. It actually matches the bananas for you without you having to get another dish dirty. Can you tell that's kind of my mantra? And with that, I'll actually lift it so you can see that we've got like very, very few little lumps, and regardless, anytime that you're making banana bread, you're gonna have some lumps from the banana. So this is a really easy, quick way to incorporate it without getting something else dirty. I love this trick. And so to this, the very last thing we have to add are our chocolate chips. I'm using bittersweet chocolate chips. I'm gonna taste one just to make sure that they're good. And I'm gonna pour these guys in, and I'm gonna keep just a handful right at the end here. I'm gonna put them on top to make sure that it's really pretty when we put it in the bowl. So I'm gonna just turn this guy on just to stir, make sure it gets nice and incorporated, get those chocolate chips in every single bite. And that's it. How easy was that? How long has this been? Like just a few minutes? It's like the easiest, quickest little recipe ever. So now what we're going to do is I am going to remove my paddle. I'm gonna just kind of knock off all the extra there. And I'm gonna grab this loaf pan. This one is non-stick. It's from our Cook's line. It's a great little loaf pan. It's actually a little bit bigger than some of the ones that I typically use. So I really like this one. And I'm just gonna grab that spatula, and I'm just gonna pour all of this batter in, making sure not to miss any of those chocolate chips, which we know is honestly the real star of this. And make sure it is all in here. All right, that looks good to me. I know there's a few extra little pieces in here, but that's just a snack for me later. And I am going to level this off. This guy's gonna rise quite a bit in the oven, so don't you worry about it not going all the way to the top. I'll show you here in a minute what it looks like when it's done, and you'll be very surprised at how much it rises. All right, and we've got that guy. I just smoothed it out a little bit just so that it's a little more level on the top. And now I'm gonna grab those leftover chocolate chips that we had, and I am just going to sprinkle them right on the top. I think that it makes it look way more appetizing whenever you're about to bite into it, and it lets people know, hey, there's chocolate in here. You should enjoy this because, hey, chocolate makes everything better. So that's pretty much it. This is the whole recipe. I'm gonna pop this guy into a 350-degree oven for about an hour. Everyone's oven is a little bit different. Some people it's gonna take closer to 45 minutes. Some people it may take an hour 15. It really just depends on what your oven is doing. For me, it takes about an hour. Basically, you just wanna make sure you do that toothpick check, where if you stick a toothpick or even a fork, it comes out clean. That's key. Banana bread is moist. You don't want one that's undercooked. And that's all you need to do with this. I'm gonna pop this under here just so that I can show you what the finished product looks like. Can we just talk about how amazing this thing looks. It's got this great crack down the middle. You can tell that it rose a whole lot, and that's without any baking powder, which would make it really explode. And all those chocolate chips on the top made it look so much fun. So now all that's left to do is to give it a try. Am I right? I'm gonna move this over to the side and grab, I've got a knife to cut it open, and I'm just gonna go right in the middle. This thing's for me. I'm gonna enjoy. And I'm gonna cut just a nice, healthy, you know, wanna make sure I can get a proper test slice and stick it right on this plate. I'm gonna pull this guy out and I'll just give you a quick cross section. You can see there's so many chocolate chips in here. It's super dense, but still got a little bit of fluff to it. And I'll just kind of show you what the inside looks like. Ugh, perfection. That's what it looks like. It looks like perfection. And I am going to give this guy just a little try. Oh, it's so good. It's not overly banana-y, so if you're not into bananas, it's good for that. It has chocolate chips. Amazing. Excuse me while I enjoy. Scandalous. Amazing. All right, so now I am going to just check, make sure if there's any questions that I can answer. Oh yes, I see people saying that they love the chocolate chips. Lick the ladle. I'm not going to do that, but I do appreciate the encouragement. But yeah, I mean, that's really all it took. It's a super easy recipe. I really hope that you guys give this a try, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure to give it a like, make sure to leave a comment below, and save it for later. If you want to make this around Mother's Day, it's great to save it. Make sure you come back to the recipe. I also have that recipe listed in the description, so make sure to check that out. On Thursday, we will be having Rachel from Sephora doing a at-home facial, also perfect for Mother's Day, that I highly recommend checking out. And with that, we'll see y'all next time. Thanks so much for tuning in. Bye.